Okay, last time we were together, we covered the first trip that the brothers of Joseph made to Egypt. They got there and found that the Pharaoh was a little bit suspicious of them and accused them of a lot of things. First of all, he accused them of being spies. Accused them of coming into a land that was racked with famine, and with the intention of reporting it to someone else who would take them over. They finally were allowed to return, but the Pharaoh told them, next time you come back for grain, you better bring that brother that you claim you have, because if you come back without him, I'm going to assume that you've been lying to me all along, and you are in fact spies. And as a surety, Brother Simeon was left behind as a guarantee that the other brothers would come back and bring Benjamin with them. So they go home. They report all of this to Jacob. And Jacob says, next time we have to go, you are not taking Benjamin. I've already lost Joseph. He is no more. Simeon is no more. And I can't possibly bear to be without Benjamin. But the famine wears on, and the cupboard starts to get empty, and Jacob says, "Okay, we gotta send Benjamin along," and so they do that. And the second trip to Egypt, the brothers are all taken well cared for and that kind of thing. And they get their grain, and they go on their way, but they don't get very far until Joseph sends one of his chiefs of staff after them and accuses them of being thieves because Joseph's silver cup is missing. And the brothers very rashly say, "Well, we didn't steal it. If you find any of our company who did steal it, let him die." Okay? They start emptying out the sacks, and they find out that the cup is in fact in Benjamin's sack. And so they say, "Okay, we're going back to Egypt. We're not going home." The whole party goes back to Egypt, and Joseph kind of ignores their rash claim that whoever is found with the cup deserves to die. But he says you should all be kept as slaves. And finally, Judah steps in, and we find Judah starting to step forward at this point and become a leader. And he says, "You can leave me behind as a slave, and you can send the others back." Well, that's where we got to last time, and we are ready to start reading chapter 45. And I'd like somebody to read the first 8 verses, if they would. We read this last time, but I think it's worth reading again. This is the equivalent of Abraham taking Isaac up to Mount Moriah. That was the pinnacle event of his life, and I think this revelation of Joseph to his brothers is kind of the pinnacle of his life. This is his own Mount Moriah, because the wisdom and everything that comes forward from that begins to be very, very obvious. The first 8 verses, please.
Then Joseph could not control himself before all those who stood by him, and he cried, "Have everyone go out from me." So that there was no man with him, and Joseph made himself known to his brothers. He wept so loudly that the Egyptians heard it, and the household of Pharaoh heard of it. Then Joseph said to his brothers, "I am Joseph. Is my father still alive?" But his brothers could not answer him, for they were dismayed at his presence. Then Joseph said to his brothers, "Please come closer to me." And they came closer, and he said, I am your brother Joseph, whom you sold into Egypt. Now do not be grieved or angry with yourself, because you sold me here. For still 5 years on which there will be neither plowing nor harvesting. God sent me before you to preserve for you a remnant in the earth, and to keep you alive by a great deliverance. Now, therefore, it was not you who sent me here, but God. And he has made me a father to Pharaoh, and Lord of all his household, and ruler over all the land of Egypt.
So that those guys are brothers. They don't know the advantage all along. And he also is able to understand their language, and so he has overheard some of their conversations they thought were private. So Joseph takes all of this in, and he can stand it no longer, and he's uncontrollable weeping. And I said last week, when the second in command in your country is in that emotional state, it's very hard to ignore, and it's something that would be very, very concerning. So Joseph very abruptly says to his brothers, "I am Joseph, father's still alive." And what's their reaction? Just stunned. Okay, for a lot of reasons. First of all, probably never thought that Joseph would be alive at this point. Secondly, we're standing in front of the second in command, and so all of that put together, being kind of stunned and speechless and unable to respond. So Joseph does something to try to help overcome this reluctance. He tells them, "Come closer." They do come closer, and then he identifies himself as your brother Joseph, whom you sold into Egypt. Now that probably didn't comfort them a whole lot at all, because he understood what they had done to him. But how does Joseph interpret the reason for his being in Egypt? Okay, all right. Yeah. God sent me here. It was to save your lives and to save the lives of many people. We covered Joseph's life in pretty good detail, all of the ups and downs that he's had. What point along the way did he come to this realization?
That God has sent him.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think when he was down in the cistern waiting to see what the brothers were going to do to him, he had that realization. I don't think when he first arrived into Egypt and became a slave in Potiphar's household, he had that. Certainly not when he was falsely accused of approaching Potiphar's wife, and he got sent off to prison for 2 years. But perhaps in his later times. Can you identify an event that might have... Yeah, maybe that's pretty good. He gets pulled out of prison, and he's able to interpret Pharaoh's dreams, and he is able to lay out a plan for saving Egypt and the surrounding world, and he is put in command with all of the trappings of being second in command, and somewhere along the way, he came to that realization, and so he's bound to have relieved the brothers somewhat. He had that perspective on it. He wasn't just thinking in terms of what had happened to him. Have you ever, in your own life, been through what seemed like a tragedy, but it turned out to be a blessing? Okay? So, how did you explain it? Did you explain it the way that Joseph did? It was God's hand? Yeah. We really have to see and understand God working through all of these events of our lives, complicated as be, and as distressing as they might be at times. But I think we need to take Joseph's perspective with us. And yeah. Yeah, and I'm sure you've outlined exactly what Joseph went through. Didn't understand it, didn't appreciate it at the time, but after it's all over and he has a chance to reflect on it, he sees God's hand. Okay. Yes.
I think maybe several people here have already heard this story, so I'm going to try to keep it short. My son-in-law was fired from his job when we were living in Virginia. He was fired from his job. The people said he had stolen some money. They have it in the new system. They said he had stolen money, and he was fired. During that time, my mother was very ill, and every weekend, Luther drove all of us up here to see my mother, to be with my mother, drove us back every weekend. I think we were there for at least a couple of months, maybe more. My mother did pass away. The very next day, we got a call from his company saying, that was not your problem, we found a problem in the system, what can we do? So we said, so we looked back and said that was the problem with God, to free him up so that he could drive us up there every single weekend. And he got his seniority back, he got his pay back, everything. And so nothing happened.
Well, that's a tremendous story. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why we pray and then we're surprised when when things like this happen. You know? Okay, in chapter 45, verse 8, Joseph describes his role as, this is impressive to me, father to Abraham, father to Pharaoh, lord of his entire household, and ruler of all Egypt. Is there any specific title that you can think of that might encompass all of those roles? Okay. He was. I tried to point out to you at the time when he rolled out his plan for saving Egypt that he was more than just a Secretary of Agriculture. You know, he wasn't just a guy with a plan for staving off a famine, but he was recognized as being wise and as being responsible. And Pharaoh and everybody else in Egypt soon came to understand that when Joseph got put in charge of something, blessings followed. Okay. All right, let's read on verses 9 through 15. Okay. Yeah.
I always wonder what Potiphar thought after Joseph became second in command.
Oh yeah, that's a good thought. I wondered how did I get passed over. You know? All right, verses 9 through 15. Okay. That's what I wanted. Good. Uh, so what does Joseph tell his family? Go and bring them back. And I've got a spot for you, the land of Goshen. Those of you who have read ahead, what's the significance of the land of Goshen? The best, desirable spot in all of Egypt. And he knew he would need that for all the flocks and herds and everything that they owned at that place. And I'm amused by the latter part of verse 15. After that, his brothers talked with him. You know, it's kind of like they're still stunned. They're still speechless. They still don't know exactly what to do, and they finally let go of some of their fears. All right, let's see what. Yeah, probably so. I hope Joseph wasn't a big "I told you so" kind of guy, but he certainly had the opportunity, didn't he? All right, 16 through 20.
When the news reached Pharaoh's palace that Joseph's brothers had come, Pharaoh and all his officers were pleased. Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Tell your brothers, do this. Load your animals and return to the land of Canaan. Bring your father and your family back to me. I'll give you the best of the land of Egypt, and you can enjoy the fat of the land." You are also directed to tell them, "Do this. Take some carts from Egypt for your children and your wives, and get your father and come. Never mind about belongings, because the best of all Egypt will be yours." So the sons of Israel did this. Joseph gave them carts, as Pharaoh had commanded, and he also gave them provisions for the journey. To each he gave them new clothing, but to Benjamin he gave 300 shekels of silver and 5 sets of clothes.
The psychological games that he played with them, do you think it had a constructive purpose, or was it just Joseph taking a minor form of revenge here?
I think he was testing them. He wanted to see if they were still the same type of people they were when they sent him.
Yeah, and they were. Yeah, I think that's a plausible explanation. I think so. Let's start reading verse 40, chapter 46, the first 7 verses. If I could get a reader for that.
So Israel set out with all that was his, and when he reached the Beersheba, he offered sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac. And God spoke to Israel in visions that night and said, "Jacob, Jacob." "Here I am," he replied. He said, "I am the God of your father." He said, "And do not be afraid to go down to Egypt, for I will make you a great nation there. I will go down to Egypt with you, and I will surely bring you back again, and Joseph's own hand will close your eyes." Then Jacob left Beersheba. What did you say the first five?
Verse 7.
Jacob left Beersheba, and Israel's sons took their father Jacob and their children and their wives in the cars Pharaoh had sent to transport him. And they also took with them livestock possessions they had acquired in Canaan. And Jacob and all his offspring went to Egypt. He took with him to Egypt his sons, grandsons, and his daughters and granddaughters, all his offspring.
Ernest is waving to me. Okay. Let me see if I can reconnect here.
The thing I found with Joseph, I think, John, is it's like it's, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they're all liars. It's like Joseph didn't really fumble so much. He seemed to show grace and, patience, after he freed, what was it, the baker or whatever one it was, the cupbearer. 2 years before that brother remembered him. So he sat in prison 2 years, and there's no record of him complaining or anything else. He was pretty above board, it seems to me.
Yeah, he was. He was. And he's certainly matured a long way from the time he was spouting off about his dreams. All right. Well, Ernest, I hit the screen mirroring, but it's still not showing up. Do I need to bring that back? Okay. Be back in just a moment. To get close to the connection. Yeah. Do the screen mirroring. Okay, I'm not getting. Yeah, I'm not getting the option to go on Apple TV display preferences. No. No. Oh. How come I'm not getting any choices here? Maybe I need to give it some time. No, that's see, I'm not getting Apple TV as an option. Get your Apple TV. Okay. Well, okay. I'm still not there. Think so? All right. All right, so I'll just go ahead and finish up the class.
I'll stop by tomorrow.
Okay. All right. Chris was not able to get the internet back in operation again, so he's going to have to work on that a little bit later. So I'll try to read the questions to you. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. Now, Jacob's a pretty old man at this point. Probably doesn't travel too well, and maybe a little bit apprehensive at this point in his life about relocating. So what did God do to quieten his apprehension? Yeah, yeah, and he appeared to him in a vision of the night when they got to a place called Beersheba. Do you recall what happened at Beersheba before? No, no, no. I don't think. That's where Abimelech and Abraham made the wells and that kind of thing. It was an important place. So God says, go ahead, and so they load up and take off for Egypt. God promised in that vision of the night that he would not only go to Egypt with him, but would bring him back again. How was that bringing back again fulfilled? Well, okay. No, not when they came, but when he died, they made the special trip to see that he was properly buried in the family cemetery. Okay. Verses 8 through 27 are inventory of people who left Canaan and went to Egypt. It turns out there are 70 people who left, and I was thinking about having Gerard read that list for us, because he really enjoys reading those long lists of Hebrew names, but I think we'll pass over that. Let's just say there were 70 people. All right, let's skip down to verse 28 of chapter 46. and 28 to the end of the chapter. If I can get a reader for that.
Jacob sent Judah ahead of him to Joseph to get directions to Goshen. When they arrived in the region of Goshen, Joseph had his chariot made ready and went to Goshen to meet his father Israel. As soon as Joseph appeared before him, he threw his arms around his father and wept for a long time. Israel said to Joseph, "Now I am ready to die, since I have seen for myself that you are still alive." Then Joseph said to his brothers and to his father's household, "I will go up and speak to Pharaoh, and will say to him, my brothers and my father's household, who were living in the land of Canaan, have come to me. The men are shepherds, they tend livestock, and they have brought along their flocks and their herds and everything they own. When Pharaoh called you and asked, what is your occupation? You should answer, your servants have tended livestock from our boyhood on, just as our father did. Then you will be allowed to settle in the region of Goshen, for all shepherds are detestable to the Egyptians."
Okay. So in addition to wanting to reward Joseph's family for what Joseph had done for Egypt, we see a kind of a secondary reason for putting them off into the land of Goshen. Apparently Egyptians didn't think too much of the shepherding lifestyle. I mentioned to you at the end of verse 27 that there were 70 people in all that left Canaan to go to Egypt. Read ahead to Exodus chapter 12, verse 37, and see how many came out of Egypt at the end of 400 plus years of slavery. Exodus. Yeah, 600,000. So, yeah, right. So the great nation promise, it got fulfilled while they lived in Israel, while they served in slavery. Okay. Let's move on to chapter 47. Okay. Let's preview it. The last block that we're going to look at is chapter 47, verse 1 to the end of the book. In this particular block of scripture, the famine rages on in Egypt. Joseph has to devise a number of special policies to help the Egyptians survive it. As the time of Israel's death approaches, he calls upon Joseph to make sure that he's not buried in Egypt, but in the family burial site in Canaan. Israel blesses Ephraim, Manasseh, and Joseph. He then blesses his 11 other sons as he is dying. As Genesis closes, Joseph dies at the age of 110 years after he had charged his brothers with the task of assuring that his bones were carried out of Egypt as well. So that's what we got coming ahead, and I guess we are just about out of time. I would say also that verses 13 through about verse 26 of chapter 47 is kind of a detour where Joseph has to provide additional planning in order for them to get through the 5 remaining years of famine, and we'll go into some of that next week and how he went about that. So let's call it quits for today, and next week we should be able to finish up our study of the book of Genesis. All right.